well, not a live video, but a normal video form. But as a Dallas Cowboys and Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan, I thought that I would just give my thoughts on Notre Dame being left out of the college football playoff. To be completely honest, I'm not super surprised about it. You know, you have people all over social media saying some BS like Notre Dame doesn't belong in the national championship, and just everybody in the mainstream news media saying it. And it is what it is. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Personally, I get the arguments. I get it. We didn't beat anybody in the top 10 this season, but every ranked opponent that we did play that was in the top 20 or top 25, we absolutely destroyed them. And everybody says Notre Dame's a bunch of pretenders. Notre Dame can't beat any good teams. What about last year? What about when we beat Indiana? What about when we beat the Georgia Bulldogs? What about when we beat Penn State to go to the national championship? And even though we lost to Ohio State University, we put up a good fight against them. It was a close game until the very end. I don't ever want to hear that Notre Dame's a bunch of pretenders again. Anybody that says that is just a hater. And there's a lot of Notre Dame haters out there. And I know, because all of my favorite sports teams, my top three favorite sports teams, the Cowboys, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, the New York Yankees, everybody hates them. The media hates them. Everybody hates them. So I get it. A lot of Notre Dame haters out there. But when Notre Dame proved last year to y'all out there that say that we're no good, that they could make it to the national championship, actually earn it. They proved it last year. This year, even the games that we lost against Texas A&M, against Miami, who got in over us, we barely lost to Miami by a field goal, and Texas A&M we lost to by literally a missed extra point. We make that extra point, we beat Texas A&M. Not a doubt in my mind. We would have won that game. So, it is what it is. People are going to hate. I do think it's ridiculous that Alabama has 3 losses and they get to stay in. I think there's a lot of, people have been saying it all over social media, and I agree. I think there's a lot of SEC bias. Completely agree. I think that there's a ton of SEC bias. I don't think Alabama should be in there. I think Notre Dame definitely deserves to be in there over Alabama. I'm not really mad at Miami being ahead of us because they beat us in a head-to-head matchup, so it is what it is. But, Notre Dame deserves to be there. I think it's a bunch of BS that they're not in it. After going to the national championship last year, after us showing up, there's no reason for it. I don't understand the whole college football rules and stuff. Like, how in the world? I mean, I guess it's because of the conference. I feel like a lot of this goes back to, everybody forcing Notre Dame to join a conference because, that's what they want. And it is what it is. I want to say this, though. Shout out to Marcus Freeman and the program for deciding not to participate in the bowl game. The last thing we want to do is give money to the institution, the NCAA football, that decided not to let us get into the college football playoff, even though we deserve to be there. We deserve to be there. We played tough games, even in the games we lost. It's not like BYU, who I don't like, getting blown out twice, by the way, against Texas Tech. Everybody was making arguments for BYU. Notre Dame didn't get blown out like BYU did twice in a row against Texas Tech. No, we actually fought in our games. So I think it's a bunch of nonsense, but it was a good season for us. We went 10-2. Marcus Freeman has done a phenomenal job rebuilding the Notre Dame program. I would have agreed with the college football world had it been the same thing. Back when Brian Kelly was our head coach, we would beat up on the bad teams and suck against the good teams. But with Marcus Freeman, we haven't been doing that. We've actually been fighting hard and even beating the good teams. Just look at last year when we've gotten an opportunity. Marcus Freeman has done a phenomenal job turning around this program in the last couple of years, and he's the best coach Notre Dame has had probably since Lou Holtz, going back to the late 80s, early 90s. And there's not a doubt in my mind. So I just wanted to get my thoughts and opinions on that real quick. What's up, Hoodlum? What's up, Rogex? What's up, Mike? Sorry that Notre Dame is not in the college football. I think it's B. I already mentioned that. But I thought Miami deserved to be in. But if y'all beat us week one, hey, I said Miami did beat us week one, so it is what it is. What's up, Yamar? So, I don't know, man. It really disappointed me. I actually thought we had a pretty good chance of making the college football playoffs, even after all the scenarios. But the committee, I'll agree with the social media warriors. They are very biased towards the SEC. And pretty much going forward, the only way Notre Dame is going to get in is either if we're forced to join a conference, which is what the haters in the media wants us to do, or if we basically go 11-1 or better. So, is what it is. Very disappointing as a Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan, but we had a good season. As for the Dallas Cowboys, man, this season is kind of gone. Initially, I predicted I never really came out with a prediction, but I kind of felt that this is the way the season was going to go. Now, this was before we got all the acquisitions with Jadeveon Clowney. This is before we went out there and got Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams. But Cowboys are sitting about where I would expect going into the season. Overall, we do have 4 games left. We should technically be favored in 3 of our last 4 games. But that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Minnesota just got a big win today, 31-0 over Washington. Washington didn't play very good today, but they fought pretty hard against the Denver Broncos. Obviously, the Chargers are a good team, so that's going to be the one game I feel like we won't be favored in. And the Giants have been fighting hard. It's very surprising that they only have 2 wins because they have a lot of talent on that football team, man. It's been very much a roller coaster season. We've had some highs so far. We've had a lot of lows. Really, the biggest deciding factor of this team in 2025 has been the defense. I've already said it multiple times. Jerry Jones should have fired Matt Eberflus after the Green Bay Packers game, but looking into certain things and seeing what certain people have been saying, what Jerry Jones has been saying, it sounds like the Cowboys are probably going to bring Matt Eberflus back, which to me is a mistake. It's a mistake. I get Jerry Jones, doesn't want 3 different defensive coordinators in 3 years. I get that. But, bro, Matt Eberflus is the worst defensive coordinator the Cowboys have had in the history of the franchise. In the history of the franchise. It's not even close, man. I thought Mike Nolan, because even Mike Nolan, at least towards the end of the year, kind of showed signs of the defense getting better. Granted, we played a bunch of bad teams, but still, the defense looked a little bit better towards the end with Mike Nolan, and Mike Nolan was not good. It looked a little bit better with Monty Kiffin towards the end. This defense, even with all the acquisition we've got, because the defense has talent, despite what the haters and, what some of these people out here may say, the Dallas Cowboys defense actually has some talent. They do. Are there pieces that we could have that would make us a little bit better? Sure. But we have enough talent to be at least in the top 15. Bare minimum, if we had a decent defensive coordinator. But this goes back to Matt Eberflus not using his personnel properly. I actually saw a statistic the other day about how Overshown was used in blitzes when he was with Mike Zimmer versus when he was with Matt Eberflus. He's almost never blitzed with Matt Eberflus, and he's been back for the last 4 games. Now, maybe this is the Cowboys being careful and not trying to rush him back. That could be true, but when does Matt Eberflus even blitz to begin with? He very rarely ever blitzes. So it just goes to show you, Matt Eberflus to me is not doing a good job evaluating his personnel. He's not doing a good job evaluating the talent that he does have. And it's really hurting the Dallas Cowboys, and it's hurt us the entire season. And the reason why I feel like we have 2 or 3 less wins than what we should have goes back to Matt Eberflus and this defense not showing up and not being prepared in the game. That's how I feel about it. You know, I've gone after Dak Prescott and this offense a couple times, and Dak has had some games where he's not showed up this year. Like, he did not play good against the Cardinals. He did not play good against the Broncos. He did not play good this last game against the Detroit Lions. But overall, Dak's actually, for the most part, done his job this year. Now, he's had some bad moments this year too, and I do think Dak is way overpaid. I think Dak is one of the most overpaid quarterbacks in the NFL, and overrated. But he's not really been the main issue this year. It's been Matt Eberflus and the defense. Now, I understand George Pickens did not show up last game. I called it out. George Pickens and these receivers didn't play good. CeeDee Lamb played good before he got hurt, but George Pickens and the rest of those guys didn't. Ryan Flournoy actually played pretty good too, but Pickens didn't show up, and the offensive line didn't play good, and I called those things out. So I get it, but the defense, the special teams, you know, a lot of people brought that up. The special teams didn't play good, and thinking back, yeah, they were other than Brandon Aubrey, they were pretty bad in the Lions game, and I've noticed that a lot this year. The special teams has been definitely a detriment to our football team this year. So, Cowboys, we still have small hopes. Now, Green Bay, unfortunately, and I hate Green Bay, man. Type in the chat if you hate Green Bay, because I can't stand Green Bay. Right now is winning 14-3 last time I checked against Chicago. I'm actually a little surprised by that. And I know Green Bay's playing at home and everything, and it's cold, but, you know, Chicago's been playing so good this year, man, that I just don't understand it. But is what it is. Now, the Saints did beat Tampa Bay today. That helps us, of course. Seattle destroyed Atlanta. That was actually a close game until the second half. The Rams, last time I checked, were up by like 2 touchdowns against the Cardinals. That's not a shocker. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Really, tomorrow is the more important game, you know, because at this point, the Cowboys want to have any sort of chance of making it. We're probably going to have to win the NFC East, and that would take us winning out and the Eagles going 2-3 in the last 5 games. So we're going to see what happens there, man. Let me read some of these comments real quick. CJ he is becoming a pretty good quarterback. I agree. CJ Carr got a lot better as the season went on, man. He's playing good. Brandon Aubrey put up more points than Dak in offense did. Crazy if you ask me. We would have gotten destroyed by Lions if it was not for Aubrey. Yeah, again, like I said, Dak didn't show up this game either. But he's not the main reason why the Cowboys have not won this year in particular. I will say that. Brian Flores' defense can give any QB fits. Hard to beat. Yeah, man. He's a good DC. That's going to be a tough game. Defense coach needs to be fired. Dallas Cowboys had Brian Flores, they would win the Super Bowl. I mean, I can't say that for sure because we still got Dak. You got to remember, bro, we still got Dak as our quarterback. So I don't know if that is the case, but would we be in the playoffs? Oh, yeah, for sure. I think the Cowboys would probably be winning the division right now if we had Brian Flores. Honestly, if we even had Mike Zimmer, and had the defense we had last year, I think the Cowboys would probably be at the very least tied with the Eagles or in a very close race. But because we don't, because Matt Eberflus has done such a horrible job, it is what it is. Mike says, do you think we make the playoffs this year? There's a chance, but we're going to have to win every game from here on out, the last 4 games, and we're going to have some football teams lose. So my guess is it's not good, but anything is possible. You know what I'm saying? Anything is possible, but it's not looking great there. That's all I'll say on that. Man, it's just been a rough year for sports. My freaking New York Yankees, we get past the Red Sox, and then we lose in the ALDS to the Toronto Blue Jays. Then my Notre Dame Fighting Irish have a good season. We get screwed over by the College Football Playoff Committee. And then my Dallas Cowboys right now, we still got a chance, but it's not looking good. Matt Eberflus and his defense has been absolutely atrocious this year. And, yeah, man, Matt Eberflus is the worst defensive coordinator in Dallas Cowboys history. It's not even close, man. It's not even close. And there's some fans still defending Matt Eberflus. I don't know how in the world you could defend Matt Eberflus after this season, because he's just not done a good job personnel-wise. He's not done a good job, doing what he's done. And so, it is what it is. Aiden says the Cowboys beat the last two champions, so the Cowboys got talent. Well, yes, Aiden, I know that. Like I said, if the Cowboys defense was better coached, we would have beaten the Packers that game instead of a tie. So that would give us 7 wins. We would have beaten Carolina, which would have given us 8 wins. So the Cowboys, at bare minimum, should have 2 more wins than what we got. 2 more wins than what we got. But we lost those games because Matt Eberflus and the defense didn't show up. They didn't show up. If we win those games, Cowboys would be 8-4. We'd be right in the hunt with everybody else. Heck, even the Bears game, that was a winnable game. We could have won that game too. But we don't show up on the road, and Matt Eberflus's defense they didn't show up, man. So, is what it is there. You don't beat Chiefs and Eagles in back-to-back with 0 talent. I agree. Like I said, this team is talented, Aiden, but the problem is defensively they're not well coached. They don't have any discipline, and they don't play with... I said in my last video, it's one thing if one or a couple players are not doing their jobs after getting paid, but when every player on the defense looks worse than what they did previously, it tells me that there's a coaching problem on the defense, that these guys are being coached a certain way. They're not being coached the right way, and I think that that's the case defensively. Offensively, I mean, offense really, for the most part, hasn't been a problem. They didn't do very good against the Lions. I'll say that. But, overall, they've not really been the problem this year. It's been mostly the defense that's been the problem. But there has been things with the offense that I've been unhappy with too. Like, up until this Lions game, the play calling in the red zone was atrocious. I think Shoddy did a better job, even though we lost against the Lions in the red zone, than previously, because he actually ran the ball and he stuck with it at times. And that's something that I've been telling Shoddy to do since the beginning of the season, and he abandoned the run a lot. And again, I don't know if that's Shoddy changing the plays. I really don't think it is. I think Dak is the one that changed a lot of the plays to try and pad his stats. I don't care what anybody thinks. I think he's done that in multiple games this year. That's something I've been unhappy with. So, offensive line didn't play good, just like they didn't play good against Arizona. This is the second game this year the offensive line actually played bad. When you give up 5 sacks, you're not doing a good job. They're not. Offensive line, for the most part, has been pretty good this season, but they sucked in this game, and they sucked against the Cardinals. They've had 2 bad games this year. So, offensive line tackle is definitely offensive tackle is definitely a need going into next year. I feel like offensively we got everything we need, even if the Cowboys decide not to pay George Pickens and they move on. I like the way that Ryan Flournoy has been developing. I mean, the fact that he went from bottom of the depth chart just last year to our number 3 now gives me a lot of hope. I think Junior Adams is doing a good job coaching these receivers up. Um, I think that we still have a lot of talent even without Pickens. Obviously, it's definitely good. The offense is definitely not going to look as good without George Pickens if we decide not to sign him. And I will admit that. And I do like George Pickens a lot, but if he's going to demand, you know, more than $35 million, which he probably will, and he's not willing to do a long, because if he does that, but he does like a longer term deal, like 5-6 year deal, I may be willing to keep Pickens because you can kind of spread that money out and it won't hurt you as bad. But if he wants to go out there and break the bank and get on a short-term deal like a Micah Parsons or a Dak Prescott, then, you know, I'm all for moving on from him and just giving Flournoy that shot. Even though I like George Pickens, and I mean that too. But I do like George, and I'm cool with paying him as long as he takes a long-term deal. If he takes a short-term deal, I would say, yeah, probably, even though he's a fan favorite, I like him. You know, it'd probably be best not to, you know, keep him. The biggest mistake the Dallas Cowboys made, in my honest opinion, I've been saying it for quite some time, is we went out there and we paid Dak Prescott. Paying Dak Prescott $60 million is really what hurts us the most, because CeeDee Lamb, you can make the argument, the guy literally is a top 5 receiver. Heck, he's missed 3 games and he's, 7th in the NFL in receiving yards. The guy's a top 5 receiver. He deserved the money. Now, he's not lived up quite to his contract, I'll admit that, but he deserved to be paid like a top 5 receiver because he is a top 5 receiver. He does help elevate the offense. You saw they, didn't do as good. Now, George Pickens at times has been able to show up without CeeDee Lamb. There's a lot of people saying he didn't, but that's not really true. GP showed up against Green Bay, and he showed up against Carolina, 2 teams with a record above 500 when CeeDee Lamb was out. So you can't even really make the argument, GP didn't show up without CD quite, because he did in a couple games. He just doesn't do it, I don't think, at a consistent enough level for you to warrant that type of money. I could agree. I could agree with that to an extent. But at the end of the day, paying Dak Prescott was the worst mistake the Cowboys made. It really is, because everything with this team, a good portion of it has to do with Dak. That's why, when I talk about Dak so much, it's because the way that this team is constructed, the way that this team is built, the coaches we have on this team, all of it goes back to the influence that Dak Prescott has. The reason why Brian Schottenheimer, for good or bad, is the head coach of this football team goes back to Dak. Dak wanted Shoddy as the head coach, and Shoddy's the head coach. You know what I'm saying? That was Dak's guy. And then Shoddy hired all of his coaches, which I think he's done a good job there. So, again, that goes on Dak. The reason why we got George Pickens is because Dak needed more help, right? Well, we went out there and we got him more help. We got him GP, So a lot of the decisions that get made by this front office, especially on the offensive side of the ball, a lot of it goes back to Dak. And for paying him the kind of money he's getting paid, and he's not good enough to elevate this team to the next level, really hurts the football team. So it is what it is. You can like Dak and everything, and that's fine, but you have to admit, even though he's had a very good statistical season, truly he's not really a top 5 quarterback, and that's just being honest. Dak's not really a top 5 quarterback. To me, I think he's somewhere between 12 to 17 in the NFL. He can be in the top 10 depending on who he's got. Like this year, he's been statistically close to a top 5 quarterback this year. But then again, look who he has offensively. I mean, he's got George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, a top 5 wide receiver duo in the NFL. He's got a top 10 tight end. He's got a top 5 running back. He's got a pretty good offensive line on the interior. Not to mention guys like Turpin, Flournoy, some of the other backup guys we got. And he's having a great year, but, you know, he's still not showed up against, other than against the Eagles and the Chiefs. He showed up in those games. And I'll give him against the Packers and Panthers because he showed up in those games too. He's not showed up against some of the better competition. Like, first game against the Eagles, I mean, he played okay, but he didn't play great. He didn't do anything to, like, help us win. And then you look at the Denver game, he played like crap in that game. He played like crap against the Chicago Bears. He played like crap against the Arizona Cardinals. And then he played like crap in this game, you know. So Dak's had 1, 2, 3. He's had like 4 or 5 bad games this year. Because let me think. Let's go through his games. He was just mediocre the first game, so I wouldn't say that was good or bad, just okay. Second game, he was good against the Giants. There's one good game. He was bad against the Bears, so that's one bad game. He was good against the Packers. That's 2 good games. He was good against the Jets, but they're a bad team. That's 3 good games. He was good against the Panthers, even though he lost that game. They're a decent team, though. That's 4 good games. Okay. Then we played who after that? We played the Jets, Panthers, and who we played after the Panthers. I'm trying to remember who we played after the Carolina Panthers. Who do we play after? Washington. He played good against Washington, but they're a bad team, and they're beat up and hurt. So that's 5 good games. He played like crap against the Broncos. So that's 2 bad games. He played like crap against the Cardinals. That's 3 bad games. He played good against the Raiders, Eagles, and Chiefs. So that's 8 good games. Okay. And then he played like crap against the Lions. So, yeah, Dak's had about 4 games this year where he's just not played good, you know. And that's the truth. He's not played good in about 4 games this year. So, it is what it is. Anyways, I just wanted to come on here and talk about that. My thoughts on Notre Dame not getting in. A little bit of thoughts on the Cowboys. In fact, probably most of this video was about that. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll catch y'all later. Peace.